So most men are good people, but also sort of bad daters. So you always hear people talk about how there's no good guys out there, and I think that's not fair because there's a lot of really great guys out there, but they're not so great at dating. So regardless if you're a man or a woman, you'll want to watch this because it sheds some light on what's really going on under the surface and what to do about it. So for those of you who are new to my channel, I'm Ketra Thompson, and I'm a certified master hypnotist and a relational recovery coach. So what I do is I help people reframe their limiting beliefs and shift behaviors that are unwanted for them on a subconscious level so that they can actually live the life they want. So they can feel connected to their self-worth and their confidence, and they can move forward in a way that actually gets them the love that they want and the life that they want. So if you want to learn more, there is a link in the description below. In that link, you can set up a consultation call, which is completely complimentary if you'd like to find out, if we're a good fit to work together. Also, there's more information about all the programs I offer, as well as a complimentary free hypnosis download. So it's just a relaxation recording, and that's my gift to you. So you can find that all there. Okay, so there's a few different kind of daters out there. So before we really dive into this, I want to mention that there is one kind of dater that can be really confusing, and it is the overconfident dater that says all the right things, does all the right things, and the reality of that is if you're having that experience, it might be because you're dealing with a love bomber. So if someone's being love bombed, they're just being showered with all of the praise and the compliments and all the time they want to spend with you, and you just feel really, really loved. But for anyone who's been through that, they know that this could be a red flag because people like that oftentimes tend to be on the toxic side of things once they're in this committed relationship, even narcissistic or on that spectrum. So it does exist that you have these seemingly perfect daters out there, and they really aren't perfect at all, because once they have that commitment, everything shifts and you see the reality of what's underneath that. So you really want to be aware of that, women. You want to be able to ask those guys some specific things, tell them no to some of their requests, kind of see how they respond and really feel that out, because it could be a red flag. But for the vast majority, the other guys are pretty much good guys. They're making a few mistakes. So a lot of them are kind of subscribing to just traditional dating advice that includes like gameplay. So they're following these rules about, don't text this much, or do text then, or, don't do this. And they're just so consumed with the rules that they aren't really letting their authentic self shine through. They might even be just kind of clueless, right? They just don't have a lot of self-awareness because they're kind of wrapped up in those rules. And they might be playing games, or they might be kind of a people pleaser where they're just showing up the way that they think the other person wants them to show up. And so that creates an issue. Now, there's also the issue of holding back emotionally. So everyone has some level of trauma, and the levels vary, right? But we have childhood trauma and we also have adult trauma. So you have guys out there that are traumatized and don't even know it, haven't integrated that trauma, and are operating on fear-based thinking. Pretty much fear that they're going to be hurt, fear of rejection, fear based on failed past relationships. So a lot of guys, especially 40 years old and over, are going to be people in the category that have been through a divorce. So these men are probably wounded by that divorce. And we tend to look at women as the ones who are wounded in a divorce, and they're not the only ones. Men are deeply wounded by things like this. And a matter of fact, studies have shown that male babies are actually more sensitive than female babies. They cry more, they fuss more, they're more needy, they need more connection. And because they're so sensitive, they also react to rejection in a bigger way. So oftentimes they shut down emotionally quicker because of rejection, especially as a baby, because they have big feelings, right? And so society has labeled men as not having these feelings, and it's not accurate. So we've got everyone having trauma, and then we've got these guys that have some additional adult trauma from failed relationships. So we need to take that into account. So all of this can play into their attachment styles. And I'm a big fan of the book Attached. I've mentioned it before, but it goes into great detail about how you can be anxiously attached, avoidantly attached, or you can be securely attached, and you can have combinations of those depending on where you are in life. It's not the kind of thing that once you have an attachment style, it is always your attachment style. It can be fixed and shifted with the right work. But overall, it's really good to know what your attachment style is because it will help you understand how you relate to other people. So we've got this attachment style thing going on. And it's not a blanket statement here, but a lot of men can be avoidant in their attachment, especially if they've been hurt. Some women can be anxious, and it can go both ways. It happens, for everyone, but I just see a pattern of that, or at least the ones we hear about, right? Tend to fall into those categories. And so what a lot of guys do, because they aren't raised in a way that helps them be self-reflective and regulate their emotions properly, and they're not allowed to feel openly the way women are oftentimes, is we end up with guys that don't know what to do with their feelings. And what they end up doing is they wear a mask, being the person that they think the world wants them to be, instead of being their authentic self. So they fix up the outside of them, okay? They oftentimes focus on, going to the gym. They want to look really fit. They focus on having a job that makes enough money, maybe driving a nice car, owning a home, whatever those things are. They're all external. So they want to polish the outside of themselves to the point that it looks really good. But the problem is that they aren't working on the inside. And the inside is what really has to happen first. We have to focus on what's going on inside of us so that we can actually connect and communicate with others. So many people talk about communication, but the problem is it's backwards, okay? They want to say, well, communication matters, it's so big. But the problem is it's backwards. Triggers are what stops the communication from happening. So when someone's trying to communicate with the other person, they have an emotional charged reaction to something, a perceived criticism or a perceived assumption, and the emotions get in the way of them being able to be present and actually good communicators. So we have to flip-flop that. We have to go deal with the triggers first. And when you deal with the triggers on a subconscious level, you're reframing your belief system subconsciously. And your subconscious mind, let me remind you, controls over 95% of everything you think, feel, and do. So when we reframe things on a subconscious level, now you're operating on a different level. And you're finally able to add the other things, the other tools, the communication tools, the self-regulation, how to hold space for someone else, how to vulnerably be yourself. But those tools aren't very effective if you haven't done the inner work. So I mention this because I don't think that there's a lot of specific help for men. There's therapists, that's great. There are some resources, but first of all, they're not taught to reach out. And secondly, they aren't oftentimes provided with the kind of thing that's specific for them. So what I've done is I've created a custom program just for men. It includes the full hypnotherapy package of one-on-one work. It also includes learning all those life skills of self-regulation and communication and really holding space so that they can implement them. But here's the key. In the process of reframing these things on a subconscious level, reconnecting to your deepest sense of self-worth and your confidence is what changes things. And I'm not talking about this arrogant kind of confidence that's like, yeah, I look good. Yeah, I go to the gym. Yeah, I have a nice car. Those, again, are all external. I'm talking about the internal confidence so that other people's judgments and assumptions don't become a part of how you define yourself. So with all of these really great guys out there that really want to have their forever person, they want to have a deep, meaningful relationship, we need to get you guys to the point where you can actually show up as yourself, where you can actually be authentic. And then you can change, the externals a little bit, right? If you feel really good about yourself and you're connected to your self-worth, then you probably want to show up looking nice on the outside. Maybe you do want to update your wardrobe. Those are all good things, but we don't want to do them at the expense of not doing the deep work, because the deep work is what allows you to be vulnerable. And the truth is, I don't care what any dating coach tells you, if you cannot be authentically vulnerable, and I mean not in a hot-headed vulnerable way where you're just spewing out your thoughts and feelings or anger at someone else, but in a calm, collected, self-reflective way where you can share vulnerably about who you are with the other person. If you can't do that, you cannot create intimacy, emotional intimacy. It's incredibly important, and it is the foundation of really amazing relationships where you accept each other for who you are. Because holding up that mask gets really exhausting, and it ends up imploding later and can ruin a really amazing relationship because you haven't been your authentic self and you haven't learned to use your voice in an assertive way so that you're living your life the way you want, and also like integrating your life with your partner in a way that's interdependent, that you're both really concerned about how things affect the other person. So there's so much I could unpack here, but I just want to reiterate the fact that there's really good guys out there, and it's my opinion that these men are struggling to allow themselves to be seen in an authentic way. And the anxiety and the social anxiety and the fear of rejection is getting in the way. So again, if you want to check out that program, that link is in the description below. I have a program specifically for women, specifically for men, and also a couples program as well. So all the information is in the link below, and until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design, a life that you love, a life that feels good, and where you can be your most authentic self.